Morning. How y'all doing?
Good
Amen.
morning.
Good morning.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Morning.
Hallelujah.
My name is Robert Curlin. I'll let you guys introduce yourself.
I'm Elder Herman Oglesby.
I'm Elder Johnny Johnson Jr.
And we will be bringing our Sunday School Forum to you guys today. We're kind of continuing a series we've been doing this month. We actually got it from YouTube videos. Those are called Black Lives Matter. No, not Black Lives Matter. Black Wisdom Matters.
Amen.
And
Get in trouble with
yeah, I
that.
know, yeah, not
Amen.
Black, no, not
Amen.
that.
Amen.
And it's a 7-part series, and so we've been breaking down. We've been watching the videos and then breaking them down. So far we haven't been able to pull up the video, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to watch it today. But part 4 is actually talking about culture, and it's interesting to me because the video is breaking down how in the 1940s, Black Americans were able to be prosperous as far as their family life, work life, and this is in the face of severe discrimination. And into the 40s, the 50s, and even the 60s, we were able to prosper, even though we had all kind of issues and things weighing us down. Fast forward to today, and it seems like our culture is more negative than it is positive, as in the sense of there was a time where we put excellence, family, community, those were important attributes when you describe us as black people, and it seems like we've lost that. And so my question, that's why I had these two gentlemen up here. My question is, first off, what happened? Secondly, what can be done to redirect and kind of bring back some of those attributes that we had as a people? So I wanted to start with basically asking you guys, what made the time that you grew up in, even in the face of discrimination, racism, whatever you want to call it, what drove you and your family to still want to prosper in society?
Go ahead, Brother John.
All right. Well, I'll move first. I have to go back to my grandparents because that's where it all started. My grandfather came up from Sumter, South Carolina. Him and all his brothers and one sister, and he brought his mother. And some of his other brothers went to Baltimore and all that, Baltimore and Washington, D.C. But when we came to Columbus, Ohio, I wasn't even born yet, but I know the story because they set me down and taught me about my family.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather got a job with the WPA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that was Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Down south, they were sharecroppers. My grandmother was a slave. My grandfather's General Thomas Jefferson Sr. Monticello every year have them come and do a thing with them. But being a slave, my grandmother instilled in my grandfather work. They were sharecroppers. That's all they knew was work. When we came north, he didn't have a job, but he got on with the WPA. That was a situation like CETA. If any of y'all are old enough to remember CETA, where they would give you a job, to do the city, those type of jobs, community service jobs like that. And he worked, and he instilled in his sons work. Once he finished with the WPA, which launched him into a job at a company called Timken Roller Bearing Company. It's now in Canton. He had the desire, to raise his family, and he bought a dove. We lived in one half, his oldest son and his wife lived in the other side. Once my grandfather got to working, he saved his money. Every year, we would go back down south with a station wagon. Me and him and my Uncle General Jr. We load that station wagon up with bushel baskets of this, bushel baskets of that, hams and all that, and we would come back. My grandfather got into the church, Trinity Baptist Church. They were members in there for over 70 years. Okay, even to this day, we still get calls, and some of the family members are there. But what I'm saying is, coming in from down south, I dare to say that my grandfather experienced so much racism and wanting a better life, and to come north, okay, was the opportunity for a better life. People were migrating to Ohio, Chicago, Baltimore for a better life, because down there they seen the rudiments of really bad slavery. I can remember some of the stories that my grandfather would talk about, you know, with my uncles and all. They're all deceased now except for one. I'm 70, so they definitely gone, but we don't even have a clue of what they had to deal with down south. And for them to get away, my grandfather said he practically had to sneak away at night to come north. I don't know what it was like. All I know are the stories. I seen racism in when I was little. What made us go sour, I don't know. I think the lack of maybe the continuation of church, because once, you know, my uncles and all them got a certain age coming north, the influence of the big city was here. Chicago, Baltimore, they was getting processes and all that. It was a melting pot for black people coming from the South. They started getting into the different cultures, as you say, away from church. They did things that weren't nice with women and the speakeasies. They had freedom. Sometimes I believe when you get a little bit of too much freedom, it can go to your head. Because I recall me as a boy coming out into a man when I joined the Marine Corps at 17 years old. I didn't have the freedom to be able to do the things that I did once I went away and became a man, because they weren't acceptable. Drinking wasn't acceptable. Smoking wasn't acceptable. Of course, you know, women certainly wasn't acceptable if you wasn't married. And I have to admit, all young men at that particular time that didn't have the opportunity because their parents held them down, and then once they got free, experienced life. Some of us were able to get back because the Spirit of the Lord was down in us, and some of us that didn't pay attention and weren't indoctrinated in God's way got stuck out there.
You know, along with what you're saying, I keep going back to where did we go wrong, or where did it change? Coming out of slavery at a time where we needed each other and we had to depend on each other. You know, oppression will cause people to come together as a group. You know, blacks had to work together. They had to feed each other, help each other, babysit for each other, and do things like that. But something took us another direction. I don't know if it was freedom, but I was thinking as you were talking, our parents told us, and unlike you know, our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents would tell us about slavery and the things that they had to go through and how they would treat them and everything like that. And we listened to it. Now, I wonder if, I know today, most young people will even deny that that kind of stuff really even happened.
Yes.
You know, they don't want to hear that stuff, and what they do hear, they do not accept it as truth.
That's true.
I was going to ISU when I was down there pastoring in Terre Haute and taking African history study class. I'm the old guy. They used to call me the old dude. The old dude this, the old dude that. I don't care. But we were in their class and we're talking about slavery and different things like that. And I looked up and there's about 4 or 5 young white girls, they probably 20 or something like that. And they're back there just crying, just boo-hooing, boo-hooing. We're talking about slavery and all the terrible atrocities that happened and how they did people and stuff like that. And they're just back there boo-hooing, boo-hooing. You know, I can't believe that people would treat people like that. And they kind of put a mark on me to think, you get it, you know. Human beings would have the audacity to treat other human beings in that terrible, harsh rape, murder, splitting up families, beating, you know, they talk about tar and feather. I would hear that. But can you imagine what tar and feathering would cause to somebody? You'd be covered in that black tar, and feathers would be put on you, and you've got to pull those feathers.
Chicken feathers.
Yeah. Could you imagine the pain that would inflict on you? And then, you know, and don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming, you know, so much on the thing about white people, but black people. This was real. This was real. And it really tears me up and hates me because when I got out of the Army, I got out of the Army in 73. I came from an environment in the Army, we were together.
Yeah.
Blacks were together.
Yeah.
You
bet. And all that.
You bet not see a black person walking or nothing or anything in the Army. You better stop. Anytime they needed help, you better help them. You know, that was a must. I got out of the Army. Hey, brother, what's up? They look at me like I was crazy. I said, what is wrong with y'all? You know, we got to be together. You know, I got to kiss your butt or nothing, but I got to respect you. You know, help you if I can. But I don't know. I don't know. There's got to be an answer, and maybe more than one answer to why it happened like that. But it's wrong and it's bad. Yeah. I know that.
Can I say?
Can I say something right quick just before? Back then, listen, everybody up and down the street was my parent.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
They were allowed to whoop me.
Yeah.
They were allowed to scold me because they cared about us. We didn't have to worry about eating a sandwich, anything. If Maceo was my friend or whatever, and I was with him, it was like his mama was my mama.
Right.
Okay, today we don't have that.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm up with the timeline. So y'all said slavery, we had to stick together. You said when y'all were raised, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, they instilled what happened through slavery, right? So what would you say that as far as time? Maybe the 60s?
We're in the 60s. I was raised in the 50s, 60s.
Okay.
And we were still together in the 60s.
But I noticed that both of y'all, after you said that, you both said, I don't know what happened. So, all right, let's get back to that.
I know what happened.
All right.
LB.
All right.
No, it was a design.
It was what?
A design.
Design, okay.
It was designed to happen. Because I came up right with them.
Yeah.
And I remember coming out of school. And I want y'all to try to follow this because if you didn't go through it, it's hard to capture. But I don't want to boast when I say this, but I was a good athlete. And it's funny, I went to a funeral yesterday, and a guy that was a friend of ours that played 6'7" had died, so I got all these athletes here. And what I was proud of was they took a moment and talked about me. And it was like, Tuck, you was this, you was that. And my point is that I got out of school, I went to college, And what I dealt with in high school, I wasn't going to deal with anymore. That was my attitude as far as coaches. And think about this. I played for a coach that was worth $80 million, had no kids, and never got married. What's wrong with him?
Exactly. You gotta make your money.
Think about it.
Yeah.
But he was a racist, and you could see it. So when I went to school, let me shut this down. I went to 4 colleges, really 3.5. Nobody does that. But soon I would see one of those traits in a coach, I would leave. I was like, yo, you didn't get ready to do me.
Yeah.
But see, that cost you, because I wasn't allowed to get steps, and guess what, y'all? I still got drafted in the NBA. And was the first person out of 7 years, but guess what? I finally, after the first 2 stops, I said, I'm going to a black college.
Yeah.
So I went and dealt with a brother. And that's just to kind of lay my background down. So I get cut by the Knicks. I come home, and I got a job as an affirmative action specialist.
Amen.
Works for the Human Rights Commission. And I would have people coming in my office telling me horror stories, how they would treat their job. And y'all, I was the #1 investigator in the country at one time. That's how passionate I was. And because the amount of people that I got their jobs back, and I got back pay, I ended up being hired to train the police. And you want to talk about something scary. What was on my mind, I wanted to tell these cops who they were. So I didn't even like that position. But think about this. And the person that founded that commission, guess what his name was? Jim Jones of Guyana Tragedy.
Right. He went
And
to
so
CTS.
he was trying, but he tried to do some good.
Yeah, he went to CTS.
Getting a position for people to get their jobs back and all that stuff. But he found the commission. But here's what I want y'all to think about. It don't even exist anymore. And the things we did, and just like y'all was asking and talking about in the 60s, 70s, you think we were being terminated for wrong reasons and losing our jobs, and it wasn't our fault? And that was a vehicle to help you get started or get your job back. Don't even exist now. And so my point is, it ain't really been us. It's easy to think it's us. But look at white folks. Sorry to say it like that. And the roaring 20s and all that. It wasn't us.
All right. If I could, I gotta say something. Because I haven't really said nothing. So what I noticed about us in the 60s, when Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they were assassinated, right?
Yeah.
Now I noticed with black people,
Make your efforts. Go ahead.
what you said as far as it was designed, there's a part I agree with you on that, because it was. Those people were assassinated, they were hunted down or assassinated. I agree. Huey P. Newton, Fred Hampton. The issue is when we speak about those people, we speak about how they were assassinated. We talk more about the racism that was involved in their legacies than we do about what they actually accomplished. So a lot of people don't even know Fred Hampton. They don't know Huey P. Newton. We don't talk about him. When I heard all of you gentlemen speak, and this is an issue as somebody from the younger generation, I always hear the white man. And the issue is, I'm not saying they didn't have anything to do with it, but I said in 2025, what is stopping us today? That's why I asked earlier, what changed? And then is there anything we can do to change it? Because here's the thing. Growing up, Mia said something last week, and I've been thinking about this. She said when she was growing up, they told her she talked white, right? Now, they used to tell me the same thing.
She did what?
She
Talked
spoke. She
white.
talked white, like when you spoke. I guess. Yeah, she
Talk.
talked white. She talked white, right?
She had all her I's dotted and her T's crossed.
Now, the thing is, I was raised in the 90s, and they said the same thing about me. Now, the thing is, here's my point. What white person gave us the mentality to tease each other about speaking proper English. See, it's easy to blame. There was a time when we could say the white man is on our necks. Today is not that time, but we still say the same thing. So I'm saying as long as we still blame the white, because I listen to all three of you gentlemen, and everything kind of circled around we didn't have a choice. And I'm saying, okay, so today we do have a choice, but we still speaking as if we don't have a choice. And so my question is that what happened? Did we lose our identity? Because the thing is, with the Black Panther Party, they dealt with racism. They still were opening schools, building hospitals. Oh, they still had a community in the face of that. We don't face the same thing, and we're still talking about that as if that's the issue. My question remains, what changed, and how do we change it?
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm kind of with you a lot about this design. If you go back and look at what's the guy's name? Willie Lynch.
I was thinking of Willie Lynch.
Would you go back? A lot of this stuff was by design, and and even though it was by design, I think then and now we had a choice, we made a choice. Probably wasn't the right choice, and probably today we have a choice, and we don't make the right choice. You know, we've got to make and decide for ourselves. You know, a lot of people talk about the Muslims, yada yada yada, but they kind of got an idea about self-governing and being together, supporting each other, and
that unity.
You know, I don't see too much wrong with that.
But here's the thing, I know these ladies got to go. But y'all have to understand, I had an in-law that was a dog trainer, and he was good.
Yeah.
And you can train a dog to do what you want the dog to do.
Yeah.
But here's what, if you mistreat the dog,
He gonna turn against you.
it'll turn, not only turn against you, it'll turn against other dogs, it'll act improperly. And that's what happened to us. It wasn't what we did, it's what they did, and we eventually reacted to it.
So, sir, in 2025, you saying we still dogs?
We've been
trained.
taught.
Yeah, program they saying.
Okay.
Conditioned.
So if we're aware that we've been trained, I don't. If I'm aware that I've been trained and programmed a certain way, and I'm aware of it, I understand it, then why would I continue to walk in that?
But see, you may be brighter than most because all these young brothers aren't aware. They just know they've been mistreated.
That was good.
Okay.
Sister Sharon.
My mom and dad was in the 50s and the 60s, and all I can remember is both of my parents work. I didn't hear them talk about the racism like today that we might use for excuse. And I think you were talking about the breakdown of the families is because now we're living in single parent living versus two parents. Because I know with us, we had rules, we were grounded, and a lot of younger generations don't have that opportunity. So they're lost. And when we talk about Black history, we using that somewhat, I think, as a crutch, because we should know who we are. Our past should make us stronger, yes. But we don't need to just harping on it where every day we can't do things because of, you know, the color. And that's just how I feel. Yeah.
Thank you, Mom.
That is so true.
Thank you, Mother.
We have opportunity.
Okay, back in the 40s, I heard my mother and them talked about welfare was designed to tear down the family. Where the husband, the men were not allowed to be in the house. That started breaking down the family. During the 50s and the 60s, during my time, we united together. We slept at each other's house. We ate at each other's house. Parents washed out. You know, you didn't have one parent.
That's right.
Everybody in the neighborhood, as they say, it takes a community to raise a child. That's where it was. Now today, you better not touch my child. I'm going to get you if you touch my child. We allow them to get in our head because we started making a little money. We was able to get us a decent home, a decent car, able to have decent food in our house. We didn't have to eat what they, you know, whatever we could afford to get our beans and so forth. And we thought we was better. We thought we was white. And we stop associating with our own race.
Right.
Because if you wasn't at my level, I wasn't gonna associate with you. That's just how it was back then. And it still is now today. We don't want to help another human being, black, brown, white, or whatever. We don't want to help because he said we were pulled, you pull yourself by your bootstring. We didn't have strings. We had boots without strings. We had belts, shoes, but they gave us a rope back to tie up your pants, to hold them up. And then you didn't choose what pair of pants. You might have had a pair of pants on that was too big. You might have had a pair of pants on that was too small. Now we can go to the store and buy what we want. And that's what's breaking down our race. Because us women back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, we got that women live. Well, we had the right, we could get your job and work your job. And we forgot about our family because we could make money and we could progress and go further and further. And we seem to forget about the family. So that's what contributing to what breaking down the black family.
We don't need a man. We can do it ourselves.
You didn't need a man because as long as I could work,
Yeah.
but me, myself, if I hit a time clock, he's hitting a time clock and all money's coming together. No, I didn't believe in that. Women live, yes, I wanted to pay, but I still wanted to be treated like a woman.
Come on down.
Yes, sir.
Some of the things I'm hearing, I was born 1944. And some of the things I'm hearing, I have never experienced. Never. My parents come up here from the South, and they were supposed to go to Chicago, but they stopped in Indianapolis at my dad's sister's house and stuff, and they ended up staying here. I went to a George Washington High School. At that time was predominantly white.
Yeah.
There was a few of us black. We come from Hallville.
Yeah.
We walked 1.5 miles to school and 1.5 miles from school every day. I graduated in 3.5 years. But here's the thing. There was a place in Indianapolis on the west side where nothing but white lived.
Valley.
The Valley. And my father was a carpenter, plus he was a preacher. He would go over in that neighborhood, which they said you can't come in here and don't let dark catch you here.
That's right.
He would go in there and he would work on their houses, he would work on their furnaces, and I would go with him sometimes. Nobody ever called him the N-word. And I hear people say, yeah, that went on, but I never heard it.
I did.
And so, well, I didn't imagine people did.
I lived over there.
I never heard it.
Yeah, I understand.
And then my father worked at a foundry
Niggas in the valley.
on Michigan, and I think it was Tibbs up in there somewhere, but my father worked in the family. My father and my mother installed in us that we are somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
They told us to get a good education and that we are in charge of our lives. So I never dealt with, I went to Christmas Attucks for 7th and 8th grade. I left there and went to George Washington High School. Most of the time when I heard the N-word was coming from my own people.
Thank you.
And my father, we were like this. If you came to our house, you ate.
Yeah.
You had to eat. That's the way my father was, my mother and father. But most of the time, for me, I had most of my trouble out of my own race because I was dark, I was shapely, and I had long hair. And the lighter skinned blacks could not stand me. So they were the ones that always had something to say. They were the ones that always pushed at you and wanted somebody to jump on you. But I had 2 other sisters, and we wasn't having that. because I had too many nephews and we learned how to fight early. So, so a lot of things that people went through, I didn't go through. And that's right here in Indianapolis. But I do know that there were white officers, police officers, that come in Hallville and they would torment the boys and stuff.
Yeah.
But then until the one called Big Red, until one night he was in Hallville and he got beat up by the guys in Hallville. And that kind of stopped that for a while. But our biggest problem is that we want to be more like them. My parents taught me to be proud of who I am no matter what color I am. And people used to come up and say, and these were black people come up and say, girl, don't you want to be white? I said, no.
Thank you.
Why would I want to be white? I can't change my color. So why am I trying to be something that I am not? And that was the biggest thing that we had. I didn't have all of this. I heard about it through my brothers being in the military. They said that in the military, they would be marching and they would have every other person would be black. And say that the Germans and the people they were fighting against, they would shoot the white. My brother told me, he says, only one black person got killed. And that's because he missed his step and stepped the wrong time and lost his life. So a lot of things that other people have gone through, I know nothing about. I know about prejudice, but I didn't have to deal with it. Because even on my job, I worked for Detroit Diesel Allison, and then I moved over to Rolls Royce. When I talked on the phone, when people came to meet me from Detroit, they were astonished because I was black. Because I spoke correct English. I didn't sound white. But it's because that's the way my family brought me up. It was important to speak good English, to carry yourself in a way that people don't know who you are until they see you. And that was even up until 1970, 19 in the late 1900s when I was working at Allison. And the man that came, I was a program at that time, and the man that came, the big boss came from Detroit. He came to visit, to give me an award. He had no idea. I had talked to this man numerous times. He thought I was white. So we sitting here and they getting ready to give me my award and everything, and everybody's sitting around and they say, well, he said, well, where is Miss Bonnie? And everybody was looking around because I'm the only black in the building. And I was sitting there and everybody said, he said, well, where's Miss Bonnie? And everybody looking at each other and said, she's here already. He said, well, where is she? And so I stood up and he got red in the face because this man had talked to me numerous times, never knew I was black. But our biggest problem is that we're so busy trying to be like them, act like them. No, my family taught me to be proud of who I am because I can't change one hair on my head.
You know, that assimilation kind of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, respect you. Go ahead.
I respect you.
This is how I feel. Good morning, church.
Good morning.
I think we are distracted. I'm from Chicago, and I might say some words that I can't hardly say it because I'm from Chicago. And when I say that, I feel like I'm like kind of country and stuff. It don't sound like it's supposed to sound. But I feel like we are distracted. Okay, I ain't being smart, y'all. We already know we going through what we're going through. We know what had happened.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? These people trying to keep us distracted so we can keep on going on and on. What we gonna do about it? Guess what? Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm going forward. You know what I'm saying? Because God gave us a brain, right?
Yeah.
Don't mess that up.
Yeah.
He gave us a brain, 5 senses, okay? I ain't trying to let neither one of them fall. You feel me? Because I'm gonna tell you something. I'm so happy in my heart, in my soul, I don't know what to do. And I'm gonna tell you why, it's God. I've been, y'all ain't been seeing me. I've been going through, I ain't gonna say things, cause God sit you still where you, what he got for you to do, you gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm so much into him, I get it, right? So I've been moving. Just like the queen just said, don't need a man, no defense on y'all. Women's all said me, independent. That's how I feel, that's how I am, because when we call on a man to do something, to help us, we gotta wait till he get, all right, I'll be over there. But my mama taught me, do what you gotta do. So them 3 weeks, I've been moving on my own. I asked my son, no, I got a good son. Else to do. But it's fine. But I teach them and let them, you ain't gonna get number one. Mom, what are you doing?
Right.
What's better than coming over here, picking up a chair or something? You feel me? So, yeah. So I've been doing this for 3 weeks. It's 2, 3 Sundays, y'all ain't seen me. But I've been happy ever since and I ain't missed no word. Guess what? Family got out of there. But listen, when I got the house, God gave to me, provide for me. I ain't even moved nothing in there yet. Guess what I did? I went to the store and got some flowers and decorated my yard. I had to put my mark out there. But back to what we were saying, yeah, like the queen said, no disrespect means, because you know what? Everybody ain't no man. Everybody ain't no man. Everybody don't do the things that man supposed to do. And then they wasn't taught nothing anyway. But see, I don't have time to be waiting on it. I'm not sexual actor or nothing. I'm waiting on God to bring me a husband. I wish you would wink your eye at me. You feel me? We ain't doing none of that. But yeah. Yeah, it's like we distracted. We gotta stop and we gotta do what we gotta do. You know what I'm saying? We know what we've been going through. We know what's out here. We know it's jealousy. It's all of that plays a role. I asked God to bring the people in front of me that he's know for me. You know, so I would never look back. And guess what? I got so much faith, I wouldn't dare turn around. It's too good in the front. That's all I have to say.
You know, you said something that kind of pricked my ear. My mother and father, they divorced, and my mother remarried, and then she got a divorce. When that man that she married after my dad was there was still some structure in the house. But when that man left, okay, and left me there as the man, the structure kind of had downplayed because the discipline wasn't there. I dare to say, back in the 60s and the 70s when the men were leaving, you know, women at a vast rate, discipline and morality and values of the home kind of diminished because it was just one person there trying to make everything work out. And the result of all of that is what we're dealing with today. As men of today, I really want to emphasize if you have children, especially young men, don't destroy who you are because your child is you. And it's bad when the men don't come alongside their young men to teach them how to be young men. And I don't know if I'm saying it right or whatever, but a man is very important in a man's life because most of the time, my mother, she dealt with my sisters, but she didn't know how to deal with me like that. She beat me. But I went to the Marine Corps when I was 17, so what that tell you? It really didn't matter. I did what I wanted to do pretty much. I never been to jail. Never really got in no trouble. But I was dibbering and dabbling where I should have been, and wasn't nobody that could see that because I could pull the wool over her eyes.
Right. Oh, now, but no, real quick, I just want to let everybody know. No, man, miss, if I could, then go ahead. If I could, no, man, no, you. I just want to let y'all know we only have 5 minutes left, and then we still got. No.
I'm not having this 1 second. Just threw me out what you said. Okay. Us women, I'm speaking for myself. Like fathers is not in the homes or whatever. Okay, fathers not in the homes. Like I said, it's it's now. Back then, but me myself, I raised my boys. You know what I'm saying? So I study teach them. I got Zay and Nazir, my grandkids. I teach them to do everything. You know what I'm saying? So I know y'all said we need a man, but guess what? We have to take over. I have to take over because I'm not sitting up here waiting on you to come, let's go out this door or come in this door. I got to do what I got to do for this child. You know what I'm saying? So back then, what you just said, it was good then. Now the tables done turned. You feel me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sister Village, you want to say something before we wrap it up?
Basically, I want to give a little back history. Back in the 40s, 50s, my father was beat down in Louisiana by some white men that made him run from Louisiana to St. Louis. From St. Louis, he came here because he heard he could get a job and do better. And from that, he taught us never to look down upon anybody, that we was not better than anyone else. Although he was beat, he was deaf in one ear. But they never taught us to hate, to love. I learned not to care that much for them. And if they stepped out of line, I didn't have any problem putting them back in line. But I got in trouble with my parents for doing that. We have to have that same type of mentality today with our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And when we said we don't need a man in the house, we do.
Yeah.
We need a man in the house. We need a man for not just our sons,
Right.
but we need a man for our daughters.
Amen.
When I worked in the system, I used to tell the men, date your daughters. And that mean was take them out, talk to them, show them what a man was about. Because they was gonna pick a man according to what they saw.
Right.
And if a man has spent some time, good quality time with their daughter, they're not gonna fall for these jokers. They're gonna look for the man their father was, a man that worked, a man that provided, a man that loved her mother. That's what I was trying to tell these men. Show your daughter, and also at the same time, you're showing your son how to be a father, how to be a husband, how to be a provider.
There it is.
But we don't do those things. And I'm going to speak from a mother's point of view. We want to shelter our boys and push our girls. You know, we want to push them out and not show them the same type of attention we give our boys. Some of them, I'm not saying all. We want to baby our boys and make our girls grow up and be a woman without teaching them to be a woman.
Yes, ma'am. Now, we have a minute left. I thank everybody for their comments. I just kind of want to tie together what we were saying. So we acknowledge that the breakdown of the family was important, or that was a leading factor to the issues that we're having. We also talked about racism and how that kind of tied into the issues that we're having. I want to bring up something you said, Deacon Harris. A lot of times, our biggest enemy is ourselves. And then I want to bring up something that you said. You said that it's been the design. Hold it, real quick. The design. I agree 100% with the design. They killed our leaders. They turned us against each other. My issue with that is today, instead of them killing us, we kill ourselves. Instead of them hating us, we hate ourselves. So you can say, and I agree, it's a condition. We've been conditioned. We have been, like the analogy you said with the dogs. My issue is, why are we allowing that? Why?
It's one simple thing, and we don't want to not borrow it, embrace it. It's called genocide. It's just like what we're talking about today. We could get together, form a corporation that teaches things like how young men should grow up, how ladies should look at a man. Cover it all, because there's a void.
Okay.
But that void came from genocide. It's
So-
been designed to get rid of us, to ruin us, to incarcerate us. That's why so many black